I thought people might want to see how to use some of the inbuilt frailty index scoring that we have got in our EMIS system. I was looking at the enhanced service for complex multimorbidity and frailty for the next 3 months. This is the 250 quid sign up and then 150 quid per review and £50 per follow up. There's a good chance you can be visiting these patients in the next 3 months. Anyway, they are likely to have chronic diseases and need reviews for their chronic diseases anyway, so it may well be worth having a look at this enhanced service, although, always these things depends on the practice and your own capacity. If you want to try and find your most frail patients, they're suggesting we look for patients with multimorbidity. So what we can look for with this, and particularly want to look for COPD, heart failure and diabetes, I quite like the search function SCORE. So if you're looking for your patients, you can look for your patients either COPD, patients heart failure, patients diabetes, and then this electronic frailty index score. Severe score is more than 0.36. And what you can ask your search to do is to find more than one of these. So it used to be that you could say all of these and, or, which meant any of these, and score, which means one or more. So these are patients who have 2 of these 4 things. So these are our most multimorbid patient. And yeah, for my population, it's about 1%. The difficulty is that your patient doesn't automatically have an electronic frailty index score that you can search for, but there is a concept in our EMIS system that will do that score for us. I think the English use it far more than we do. And we can create protocols to actually add that score to everybody's records. So I've already done one, but I'll show you how that protocol looks. So all we want that protocol to do is every time we run it, we want it to add the electronic frailty index score to that patient's records. So when we're doing that, I'll delete this node. It's an action node for those who are familiar with doing protocols, and we want this protocol to add data, which is going to be the electronic frailty index. So the code is going to be electronic frailty index score. Now, when you want something to add a score, you need to, and we want it to use that concept that EMIS already got, which is a calculator inside EMIS that gives you your EFI score. So we're going to use the concept value EFI score. So you need to look for EFI score, and it's here, and it's going to simply return the EFI score for this patient. So if I was running it, the test protocol, it'll do nothing here. It's just going to, in the background, it'll have calculated an EFI score. But if I save that, ignore this, and I run that on mouse, and I've saved it for now, EFI score to record, it will have added a score in the background to mouse's record. So if I go into mouse's care history, you'll see he's got an EFI of 0.056. Now, what you can then do is you can batch add that protocol to whatever population you want to batch add it to. Now, if you want to do a search that just looks for everyone in your population, all you do is create a search that's empty, and it'll just tell you, right, this is all your patients. So you could batch add it to that. You might want to just batch add it to patients over 75. You just make a search for patients over 75. When you want to batch add something, it's in Batch Data Manager, and you can batch add a variety of things. So you can add a code to a search, you can add a protocol, calculation, warning. So the protocol we're going to add here is that one we've just created, which is the add the EFI score to record. And I'll say adds EFI score. And we want to add it to the list of patients to add it to. So we're going to find that search, and we want the patients that we've just found there. Now, you could do it for a smaller patients, but I was just going to add it to my patients record. So currently registered patients, and it's telling me it's going to add it to 7,000 patients. When you click OK, it'll run that. It takes about an hour, well, less than an hour actually. It seems to do it in 10 minutes, but it will then add an EFI score. And I've created searches then looking for scores of greater than 0.36, between 0.24 and less than 0.24. The other searches then are searches looking for those very multimorbid high-risk patients. Now, we're particularly interested in ones that perhaps have needed home visits in the last 3 years. So that would be my 21 patients here. So these are 21 patients who have multimorbidity and frailty. There's 85, but 60 of those obviously haven't needed home visits. They're still coming in. I think it's the ones that have had home visits we're most interested in. I'm afraid we can't we can't make a search that would be shareable that will look for your residential home or care home patients. You can't claim for those under this enhanced service. So this is really for the patients who aren't already in a care home or residential home. It is possible to make a search that can look for people in residential homes, but it'll depend entirely on whether you have registered that patient as being in a residential home. What I mean by that is in Edit Patient Details, there is a little box in here which is to do with whether or not this person is in a care home, which I'm afraid I can't show here because Mouse is a dummy patient. But if you're editing patient details under primary care, you'll see there's something that says LHB information, and under that you can tick a box to say residential institute or care home institute. If you've done that, you can actually share a search that looks for that, but we can't. The reason it's important to mention that is you don't necessarily, if you're looking for people who've had home visits in the past 3 years, ideally you might want to exclude people who are care home patients. One of the ways you could do this is if I look for my patients, so I'm just looking for consultation, which is a home visit note. Now that's very standard, it doesn't depend on slot type. If you try and do a search for slot type, again, you can't share those searches across organisations. But if I was to, I could exclude people that I'm registering for care homes. So for that one, I might look for my care home register. So if I look under, I think it's under enhanced services, care homes, and I was to put in the search care home, and I could put exclude people who are in care homes. And that would then exclude your population who are in a care home already. Now, the enhanced service also has a suggested template protocol. Now, this is going to be something we're likely to print out and take with us to a patient's house. And I have mail merged that as well. So if people are wanting to import a document, so if you want to import a document, you need to be back in Template Manager, and then in this little tab here, just select Documents, and I've imported the Word document into here and then merged it, if you imagine, so then at least the document prints off with patient details and things, so it's easier. You'll have to decide on your own code for the enhanced service. If you're wanting to share these documents, all you need to do is, mine's having a think, is you just choose the document you're going to share. So if I want to share this with you, I just choose Export. I'll save that Complex Multimorbidity and Frailty Wind Supplement Service document as, and it'll save it as an EWT. I mean, it's already there. If you're wanting to then import that, you just click on a folder, like say, for example, practice templates, and I would import the document there. So I'll import the document and I'll say I want the complex service document. I want the one with my edit, and then that'll bring it into it's just a different folder, but just showing how you bring those documents in. And it should already then have the merging fields and things already sorted, and the Rockwood the 6CIT and the mini geriatric depression at the end. And you're very welcome to have that. I mean, I guess, people can all do these themselves, but sometimes it's quite nice if it's a 2-second job to import it if somebody's already done it for you. And yeah, I'm happy to share the searches I made if people want them. I'm happy for you to have that protocol for adding an EFI score, and happy for you to have the mail merged document template. Might be printing off to do the reviews. I think I would always encourage people to think about using my HCA template to find out what tests that patient should be having, and the chronic disease review template to see if there's any advice on the chronic disease management for that patient. But obviously there's separate videos on that, and that is something I'm afraid I do charge for that one. I have a couple of small observations about the DARES. I guess people have various recalls and systems they use in recording, that's fine. It mentions the use of SNOMED codes or SNOMED read codes. Just to be clear, I don't think anyone in Wales has got SNOMED yet, but there is the code Chronic Disease Management Annual Review completed, and I suppose it'd be sensible to use that one, which is the 90EA, and I suppose the invitation is 90E9, and we could have searches that looks for that, so we can at least put our claims together, so we'll put that in there as well. So we just do a search for Chronic Disease Management Annual Review. I would look for the one done in the last month. I mean, you can just change the date to be between the dates you want to make the claims for. I was really the only one wanting to mention that because whoever's designed this, I like the enhanced service. I suspect it must have been perhaps copied from